The Warmth of the Deep, The Dark Fleet Part 1. The awakening shadows of the private quarters were warm, painted in the soft, amber glow of a single bedside lamp. Julian Vance ran his fingers along Clara's bare shoulder, his touch lingering on the soft curve of her neck as she pulled him closer into the sheets. Their breaths mingled in the quiet room, a heavy, intoxicating rhythm of pure, unadulterated desire. For a few beautiful, stolen minutes, the crushing weight of global espionage entirely evaporated. His lips found hers in a deep, burning kiss that tasted of absolute surrender. Their bodies tangled in a fierce, breathless embrace that defied the cold reality of the world outside. But the illusion was brutally shattered. A harsh, electric hum cut through the silence. On the desk, Julian's secure tactical tablet flared to life, casting a cold, blistering neon crimson glare across the room. The dark fleet had just awakened. Julian tore himself away, the sudden chill of the room stinging his skin as he scrambled to the terminal. Clara wrapped a linen sheet around herself, her eyes wide with a mixture of lingering passion and immediate fear as she watched his face turn pale under the glow of the screen. The autonomous launch cells, Julian whispered, his fingers flying across the decryption matrix. They're online. The sequence has already begun. 3 massive, unmanned commercial container ships, seemingly normal cargo vessels tracking through the critical shipping lanes of the Atlantic, had just ceased all standard civilian telemetry. They were part of a distributed, sleeper maritime drone infrastructure. Underneath their decoy steel hulls lay thousands of vertical launch tubes pre-staged with autonomous strike drones. Can't the Navy just blow them out of the water? Clara asked, stepping up behind him, her hand resting on his fiercely tense shoulder. No, Julian grimaced, bringing up the ship's defense profiles. They're hard-coded with an absolute retaliation protocol. Any kinetic strike, a single missile, a torpedo, even an artillery shell will instantly trigger the automatic mass launch of the entire drone swarm. It's a dead man's switch on the high seas. We can't shoot them. We have to freeze them. He zoomed out, looking at the global logistics channels. The tracking anomalies were subtle, beautiful, and terrifying. Over the past 72 hours, 40 different cargo ships had altered their speeds by mere fractions of a knot. To a standard naval computer, it looked like routine maritime drift due to weather. But to Julian's trained eye, they were carving a perfect, overlapping tactical grid across international waters, preparing to blanket the entire region in fire. Part 2. Hunting the ghost stream. Julian had less than 7 minutes before the container lids pneumatically shared open. The tech threat was a masterpiece of decentralized engineering. There was no central military server commanding the vessels. Instead, they were communicating via a peer-to-peer ghost network, bouncing encrypted command packets off ordinary commercial satellites, masking their countdown data inside everyday maritime weather updates and streaming video traffic. They are hiding the master signal in plain sight, Julian muttered, his eyes scanning the cascading walls of raw binary data. It's a needle in a digital haystack of 1 billion gigabytes. Logistics, channel signal audit, satellite, bandwidth, transmitting normal commercial maritime. Telemetry. Subcarrier layer, encrypted. Steganographic data stream isolated. Signal origin, masked via a moving global. Proxy. Current countdown status, 412. To drone egress, look at the heartbeat frequency, Clara said, her fingers pointing toward a tiny, repeating micropulse in the data stream. Though she wasn't an analyst, her artistic eye caught the rhythmic anomaly. It's looping every 12 milliseconds. That's too fast for a standard automated navigation update. Julian's heart hammered against his ribs. That's it. That's the master control synchronization signal. It's a distributed heartbeat. The ships are constantly checking in with each other to verify the launch time. If he could isolate the specific frequency of that heartbeat, he could spoof the synchronization packet. But the encryption was shifting using a dynamic, time-based algorithm. If he uploaded a counter signal with even a single digit out of alignment, the system would recognize the intrusion as an attack and instantly deploy the swarm. Sweat dripped from his brow, his skin still hot from the intimacy they had shared just moments ago. He had to rely on raw, human pattern recognition to anticipate the next shift in the machine's logic loop. He watched the numbers scroll, feeling the rhythm, breathing in sync with the pulsing code until the chaotic variables suddenly aligned into a clear, predictable cadence. Part 3. The digital freeze. I have the frequency, Julian announced, his voice dropping into a hard, calm register. Isolating the master control signal now. Target vector. Distributed Ghost Fleet core payload type. Localized cyber-acoustic override time remaining. 115. He didn't try to hack the entire network. That would take days. Instead, he designed a highly targeted, venomous cyber payload. The logic was simple. Inject an artificial data packet that mimicked a critical hardware failure within the ship's pneumatic launch mechanisms. If the onboard computers believed mechanical bay doors were physically warped or structurally compromised, the automated safety protocols would force a hard mechanical abort. The system would lock its own doors from the inside to protect the drones. Upload sequence primed, Julian said, his hand hovering over the terminal's physical execution key. He looked back at Clara. The fear in her eyes was real, but so was the fierce, unyielding trust. Do it, she whispered. Julian slammed his hand onto the key. The progress bar on the tablet flashed a bright, solar yellow. For 10 agonizing seconds, the screen went completely static as the payload traveled up to the commercial satellite array, bounced through the clouds, and rained down into the antennas of the 3 rogue cargo vessels out in the dark ocean. On the master display, the countdown numbers froze. Hardware error detected. Bay door deformation safety interlock. Engaged launch sequence. Suspended indefinitely. The crimson indicators on the tactical map slowly faded back into peaceful civilian green. The automated siege of the Dark Fleet had been entirely paralyzed by its own internal safety logic. Julian slumped back into his chair, a long, ragged exhale escaping his chest as the terminal returned to its low, gentle hum. The global logistics channels normalized, the ghost ships suddenly transforming back into harmless iron boxes drifting silently in international waters. The danger had passed. Julian turned away from the cold glow of the computer, looking at Clara as she let the linen sheet drop, the tension completely draining from her body. He stepped away from the desk, returning to the inviting warmth of the bed, wrapping his arms around her waist as their lips met once more, this time with the sweet, triumphant taste of a quiet victory and a night that belonged entirely to them.